The most painful sound in a relationship isn't a scream, not a slammed door, not shattering glass. It is the silence that follows all of those things. The absolute, freezing, deliberate silence of someone who is still in the room with you, still breathing the same air, and yet has decided with full intention to make you completely invisible. You might call it a cold shoulder, but in the world of high-stakes psychology, this is something far darker. It is a calculated weapon, emotional exile that leaves no bruises on the body, but destroys your sense of reality, your sense of self, and your sense of worth. Today, we explore the full geography of this silence, why it feels like physical pain, how to survive its 3 stages, and how to find your way back when your internal compass has been shattered. This is not a video about communication tips. This is a math of a psychological weapon, and by the end of it, you will know exactly how to disarm it. Imagine a room you share with someone you love. The air is heavy, not with noise, but with the absence of it. So you ask a simple question: how was your day? But the words just hang there, unacknowledged. They look right through you, as if you were made of glass. Not even a person, just a transparent obstacle in their path. And this is where the overthinker's nightmare begins. Your mind rewinds, frame by frame. You scan for the mistake. Was it something at breakfast? A wrong tone? A dish in the sink? You find nothing, and somehow that makes it worse. The silence becomes a living thing. It sits between you at dinner, taking up more space than the people in the room. And slowly, your logic dissolves. You stop asking, what did they do, and start asking, what is wrong with me? Eventually, you break. You apologize without knowing what for, just to hear their voice, just to prove you still exist. That moment of surrender, that is exactly what this silence was engineered to produce.
Before we go deeper, we need to draw one critical line, because this is where most overthinkers gaslight themselves. A healthy person, when overwhelmed, says, "I need an hour to think, then we talk." That is a bridge. It has a beginning and an end. It respects your existence. Weaponized silence is entirely different. It arrives without explanation, no expiration date. A stone wall erected suddenly in the middle of your shared life, and you are never told why. If you do not know when the silence will end, you are not in a relationship. You are in a cage. Healthy space recharges a relationship. Weaponized silence starves it. One feels like a pause, the other feels like a punishment. Learn to feel the difference.
Weaponized silence moves through 3 precise stages, and each one takes something from you. Stage 1, the freeze. Communication stops abruptly. You feel the shift before you can name it. Your nervous system registers danger before your mind catches up. Stage 2, social starvation. This is where the real damage happens. When a primary attachment figure withdraws without explanation, your brain triggers an ancient survival alarm. The signal it sends is not, "This relationship is difficult." The signal is, "You have been left behind by the tribe. You may not survive this." This is why the pain feels so disproportionate. Your rational mind knows you are in an apartment, not a forest, but your nervous system does not make that distinction. You begin to believe, if someone who knows me this well refuses to look at me, it must mean I am fundamentally broken. Stage 3, the submission. They wait patiently, coldly, until you are so depleted you will agree to anything just to end the cold. You apologize for things you didn't do. You abandon boundaries you knew were right. They don't want an apology. They want total surrender. They want to hold the switch that decides when you are allowed to feel okay.
For many overthinkers, this is the most important thing in this entire video. The silent treatment isn't only a present-day conflict, it is an echo from a much earlier wound. Think about where you first learned what silence meant. For many, it wasn't a partner. It was a parent who, instead of saying, "I am angry and here's why," simply withdrew, turned their love off like a switch. If that is your history, your nervous system was trained very early to read silence as a life-threatening emergency.
Because when you were 6 years old, it genuinely was. A child cannot survive without the emotional presence of a caregiver. So today, when a partner goes quiet, it is not just you processing a conflict, it is also that 6-year-old version of you, standing in a hallway, heart pounding, asking, "What did I do wrong? Do you still love me?" This is why the reaction is so intense. You are not overreacting, you are responding to two wounds at the same time. Psychologists call this the fawn response, the desperate urge to fix, to make the silence stop at any cost. But in doing so, you hand them a complete map of your vulnerabilities. You show them exactly where to press. Let's talk about what is actually happening inside your brain. When researchers place people in fMRI machines and expose them to being ignored, they find activation in the anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that processes physical pain. Not similar, not adjacent, the same. Being ignored registers in your brain identically to being struck. Your body is not being dramatic. It is responding accurately to what your biology classifies as a genuine threat to survival. This is why you feel that tightness in your chest, the shallow breathing, the restless anxiety in your limbs. Your body has entered survival mode because the person who was supposed to be your anchor has become a source of danger. They have taken your internal compass and locked it in a drawer, and now you wander in the fog, unable to find north. Let's step behind the wall for a moment. Most people assume the silent person is calm, collected, superior. The truth is almost always the opposite. The silent treatment is the weapon of the emotionally underdeveloped. It is the last resort of someone who cannot survive a real, fair conversation. If they engaged, they might have to admit being wrong, so they retreat, behind a wall where they can feel powerful without ever having to be honest. Here is the paradox. They are ignoring you because they are completely consumed by you. They are watching from the corner of their eye, counting your texts, measuring how long it takes you to break. Your desperation is not an inconvenience. It is the entire point. Without your reaction, their silence is just loneliness. Without your attempts to climb it, their wall is just isolation. They are not powerful. They are addicted to the feeling of significance that only exists when you are begging for their attention. And now the twist, the one thing they desperately hope you never realize. This silence, it has nothing to do with your mistakes. It is not about the dishes or the tone or the argument. The silent treatment is a confession, an admission of emotional bankruptcy. It is what a person does when they have no other tools, no ability to regulate their own emotions, no capacity for honesty. They watch you struggle, they watch you cry, and they remain still. Not because they are strong, but because they have nothing else to give. Their silence is not a sign of power. It is the sound of a hollow core trying to feel full by draining yours. Once you see it this way, something shifts. The wall doesn't look like a fortress anymore. It looks like what it is, a person hiding because they do not know how to stand in the open and be real. So, how do you find your way back? You recalibrate using 4 coordinates. North, radical acceptance of the void. Stop throwing your words into silence. If they chose to become a statue, let them be a statue. Every message you send is water poured into desert sand. Stop watering the desert. South, self-sighting. When someone refuses to see you, you begin to forget you exist. Fight this. Call someone who actually picks up. Let your nervous system remember you are visible, you are real, even if you are temporarily invisible to one person. East, documenting the pattern. Write it down, date it. Monday, asked a question, no response for 4 hours. When the silence breaks and they pretend nothing happened, your notes will keep you grounded in the truth. It is hard to gaslight someone who has a written map of the territory. West, the sanctuary of stillness. Silence can be a cage, or it can be a sanctuary. When they refuse to speak, use that silence to finally listen to yourself, not the anxious voice asking, "What did I do wrong?" but the quieter voice asking, "Is this the kind of love I want to carry for the next 10 years?" True stillness is not found in their response. It is found in your refusal to need it.
We cannot end without talking about the price of staying long-term. Living in relational uncertainty rewires the nervous system. You lose access to creativity, to joy, to the version of yourself that existed before you started walking on eggshells. You become hyper-vigilant, always scanning the horizon for the next cold front. This is not living. This is surviving, and you deserve more than survival.